Alright, namaste beautiful people. Today, the Ayurvedic 5 element theory in the body. What does it do? How can we use it? How can we diagnose what we need to fix in our own body and our imbalances? And how does that affect our perspective? And lots of fun stuff. So I'm going to share a whole bunch from all the stuff in my body that I've fixed over the past 4-5 years and my journey. So hopefully we can get a feel for it. So 5 elements, really easy. We all have those elements within our universe and our wider environment. How do we get them in the body, balance them so we can thrive and be absolutely awesome? Yeah! Cool. We'll start from the bottom because essentially the bottom is where it's at. If you don't have that sorted, everything else doesn't work. So the sense for the earth element represents our anus and our sense of smell. And the organ that we use is the nose. So what I found is, like, when I used to be blocked down there, the sense of smell was off, or it just wasn't as good as it could be. So you wouldn't be able to smell the earth. You didn't want to go for, for a nature walk and just spend the time in the bush or in nature, going hiking or at the beach, because that's the vitality center. So those people who have a blocked colon and anus is not working as efficiently as it could. And when I say that, I mean 1 meal in, 1 meal out. It's simple in and out system. It's a plumbing kind of thing, really. Then those people who are blocked, they don't want that vitality. They're just kind of drawn away from it. It's not part of their world so much, even though it's probably what they need to do most, just to get the vitality and get movement so the body can, physically, manually get stuff out. Very helpful. And of course, what I've noticed as well is it always links up to the top part of the body, because that's the receptor. I can liken it to a TV antenna. The body, this bit doesn't do as much as we think in the West. We're very much mind driven, so we think it's everything up here. Not so much. So if we cut it off at the thyroid, because let's face it, there's very few people who have awakened their higher centers, and if they haven't realized that the key elements are down below, they never will, unfortunately. So hopefully this is going to create some more education and some more knowledge, so we can adjust our spiritual strategy and our diet and our lifestyle for maximum growth. So the anus is connected to the nose. Have you noticed that people with blocked digestion and they don't secrete and excrete as much as they would prefer, 1 meal in, 1 meal out, they generally have blocked nose. That's the sign that they need to fix their digestion. And then they'll get a lot of mucus and a lot of gunk up here in this particular area. Generally has problems in the air element, in the sinuses and lungs as well, because they're not moving as much as they could. So by all means, feel free to tap into your body's imbalances and see what we can improve. Okay, and then the water element. So the water element has taste attached to it. Yeah. And we use the tongue and the genitals. Well, hey, let's face it. The genitals and the tongue go really well together, don't they? Yeah. With the right people and the right partner, fantastic. But it's a flowing effect. We want to taste our food. It's very sensual. And of course, if we've got, that's another reason why the tongue scraping is wonderful, because you actually get to taste your food that much better, because the bacteria that comes from down here is shown in the tongue and in the mouth. And we want to have that nice and clean, don't we? We can taste our food. Not only does that mean we taste our food much better, it also has a subtle effect on the food choice, because if that bacteria is clean and less affected by the bacteria down here, which is quite often very much affected by the many stored urinary tract infections that most people have, because there's generally not a lot of oxygen getting to that area unless they've improved and worked on that targeted specifically. Okay, so next one, fire. Yep, the fire in the solar plexus, the fire of transformation, is wonderful. But this is the thing: if like when I had the digestion was a bit blocked and it wasn't firing as well as it could, I would misfire. My fire would go out everywhere, and it would, would come out in fiery speech, or I'd have to go run for a long time just to get things moving. And when I started doing green smoothies and clearing out digestion and a lot of herbals and supplements, the fire was much easier to contain and utilize more efficiently rather than have to externalize that energy with long distance races and Mother Nature time and a lot of other fiery activities. And it's also associated with the feet. So when I had an excess of fire, then I had to move all the time. I couldn't sit still. Meditation didn't even appear in my world. It was just non-existent. When I started to harness that fire and bring it up to the higher centers, well, my whole world changed. Meditation, slow practices of Qigong and yoga become part of my world, and a much improved world that there has been. And of course, because the fire and the feet is linked to the sight and the eyes, you'll notice that when my fire is off balance, for instance, I've got sharp dagger eyes. In Australia we have this evil eyes kind of look. You just look at people like, "Grr." It's a sign that your fire's off balance. You've got a lot of digestion stuff here going on. It's quite often a acidic stomach, or there's an excess of bile in the gallbladder and liver. That's a big one for pretty much everyone in the West, because when the excess bile in the gallbladder is stuck there, we subconsciously need to get that out. So excessive exercise, which is good, we feel fantastic, but that can create more acidity and then put more stuff in there. So it's a fine balancing act, because if we're coming from our right side and our body is always needing to get that toxicity out, then we're always masculine. And what that ends up happening, for what I've noticed within myself and many friends and clients, is that liver and gallbladder toxicity means always masculine, always doing. That means, hang on, the left side of the body is a bit off balance. So the nurturing, the spleen and the maternal side, our slow practices, how we can nurture and love ourselves, is kind of depleted. And that often results in an iron, supplementation, because the iron levels are low. And then of course, we're still running and we're still doing lots of fiery exercise and fiery activities, and we can really, really off balance ourselves, and that ends up having an effect on the spine as well. So your right side is off. You can see it on people's shoulders. The right side is over there. Yeah, I know the fiery stuff quite well because I've fixed so many things within myself, and that seems to help, associate. Cool. And the air element. So the air element is all about touch and the heart and skin, and the hands are what we use to do that. So again, for if a fire's off balance, some air is nice to relax and have a massage, ideally with some oils as well. And of course, don't we love a nice little touch? That's fantastic for the lymphatic system to nurture ourselves and our feminine aspects of ourselves. So when that's off balance, the air's moving around all over the place, well, you end up getting thyroid problems. People who are just scattered, they seem to think that they're getting lots of things done, and they're not actually achieving anything. I had a lot of that. And the thing is, with the air imbalance, it's quite often in the heart and lungs, yes, but the effect is down here as well. You'll see a lot of people with a vata or excess air in the West, with the large intestine extra bits that we don't really need. And in that section, that's where we store our delusion. Yeah, and there's lots of parasites and fungus and all sorts of yucky gunk in that particular area, but we think that's our world, and that is controlling our minds, our subconscious mind that is coming from that place the whole time. And it's not fun. It really isn't. But most people are there unless they actively take these actions to fix their body and have this sort of knowledge. So hopefully that's shining some light on some things for you. Okay, next one, the ether element, which is generally thyroid. Now, thyroid is the biggest one I've come across recently. I'm of the opinion, and lots of the subtle bodies information and the 5 element theory all point there as well. That's another video. It is the master chakra. Absolutely right here. We're told that the master chakra is the third eye, or ajna. Yeah, when that is awakened. And from the research I've been doing, Mr. Hawkins in the Power versus Force book says 0.5% of people have these higher centers awakened. We're working on that to get more people to raise their kundalini and feel amazing and awaken the extra 8 or so brain functions that come with that. And this is what Einstein was actually saying. You know, we're told we only use 10% of our brain. Yeah, correct. Unless you've put the work and the time and the effort to awaken the higher centers, which is essentially the frontal lobe. Because you'll notice that most people are emotionally triggered. They're out there and they're not centered, and whatever happens, they can just deal with it. They usually go, nah, 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 based on their particular story, because they haven't dealt with the chakras or the elements in their body to awaken the higher centers, to be able to witness and understand where the other person is coming from and what our own self-realization about the situation and how we've co-created that, how we can fix it and fix ourselves, most importantly. So anyway, the ether. There's a lot of hearing and speech to do with the ears, which, funnily enough, I just tapped into. Of course, so all of the organs that are in the speech. So what do we use there? We have to use the mouth, the throat, also the ears. So we have to understand where we're coming from. And I relate that a lot to the nervous system as well. So you'll notice that the people with the ether element, a lot of people think that they're connected because they think that they're all light and love and fancy, fluffy up here. Only if they've awakened and got the 4 elements below in relative balance will the ether element really come along. Yeah, there are a lot of people, spiritual teachers, yogis, and even gurus as well, who think that they're all connected. You only get the ether element when you've got the bottom 4 sorted. It's an amazing, fantastic gift. The key is we have to detoxify the body, so the thyroid has a lot less work to do, and then once your body's got enough energy and nervous system power, that's when your kundalini raises, because that's the super fire. So we have to have them connected, otherwise it simply doesn't happen. And if that person thinks that they're a spiritual teacher and they're all connected, quite often they're not even close. They're suffering from their water or their delusion, because that is what their body is actually dealing with. And they're often co-creating from that place, because that's when their nervous system and their messages from their own mind, which has to come up through the nervous system from the bottom element, comes through the thyroid, crosses here like the butterfly shape that we know, and comes around, and then they get their messages. Hang on, are the messages coming cleanly? And as a brief explanation of the subtle bodies are connected through the solar plexus in the nervous system, and then it goes down the legs and then also up to the shoulders, essentially in a shape like this that goes around. Of course, notice it comes out the shoulders until the person centers and aligns themselves and awakens the higher centers, and that's when the energy can come in or out of this area in the crown. Again, very few people, 0.5%, have actually done that. So they don't know. They're actually misinterpreting because they cannot hear or speak because they haven't got the ether element correctly aligned. Yeah, it's going to be a shock to a few people. That's how it works. You know, there's a lot of delusion in the Western world. It's what we suffer from culturally the most. It's the ether element. Why is that? A number of things. We have a lot of Wi-Fi, we have a lot of TV transmissions, a lot of mobile phone use now. We've been spiritually disconnected from our mother nature. Our food has toxic chemicals, lots and lots of things that we really have to sort out within ourselves. So then once we've done our work, it will translate into our wider environment, and then we can do this sorts of thing, and we can tell people the truth, you know, eternal truth. Let's get connected, people, and then we can have a bigger effect on our wider universe and actually get connected to our spirit and our soul. Very handy. So as you can see, how do we do this? Well, there's a number of detoxification methods. Panchakarma, Ayurvedic Panchakarma treatments is absolutely amazing. Will sort out the whole body exactly for your imbalances. But what can we do on a daily basis? Well, the Ayurvedic daily rituals are the ones that are able to keep us aligned and in focus and growing every day. So they're all about the top generally. Tongue scraping, neti pot, cleaning out the ears with some oil and the ears and the nose and also the eyes. They're all part of the Panchakarma treatments, and I do most of them on a daily basis. Really keeps the senses in play, and then your senses that are receiving up here get connected here down in the lower parts of the body. So then you instinctively know, okay, I need to do this. I need to go to the gym today. No, maybe not a gym. I could feel like a bit of a walk in nature or a swim because my water element could do with a bit of nurturing. Oh, hang on. I've been doing a little bit of extra exercise in the last few days. My air element could do with a bit of a boost. I might go get a massage. There's a lot of touch involved, and I need to nurture my feminine left side. So you can see how having the senses really in tune and aligned gives you the messages from your subconscious bodily temple to be received up here, and we know exactly what we need to do. Isn't that nice, having that clarity of sense of purpose rather than this scattered kind of perception that a lot of people have due to the toxicity in their body, which affects the thyroid. And you know, there's a lot of thyroid stuff we're dealing with in our society nowadays, and with the planetary conditions and the energy getting more and more in the coming years, this is the biggest thing we really face. Parasites, heavy metals, and the effect they have on the thyroid. So, can you see how the 5-element theory really nuts things down, and when you can fit those elements from outside of you into your internal environment, sorting them out, getting them in balance, will really help your entire life and your purification methods, and it's just, everything gets easier and funner because you're in alignment with the universe and the 5 elements around you. So, hopefully that was beneficial and we learned a few things. 5-element theory, don't we love it?